Welcome to Mountaineer Football Tonight, the weekly coaches show for Kings Mountain High School, brought to you by KMHS Sports and the Kings Mountain Touchdown Club. Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
I said, repeat it. I don't remember what I said. Good evening, fans. Welcome to Mountaineer Football Tonight. Your host, Craig Short. With me, as always, Coach Herron. Coach, thank you for being here. Good to see you again. We don't have a highlight video again this week. We're sorry about that because Jeff is still out of town on a mission trip. He will hopefully be back. Well, he will be back, good Lord willing, into this week. And our plan is to play again next week so he can make just so we can have a highlight video. Drew's behind the controls. We'll go and take a quick break. And after that, we come back, we're going to talk about the game last week with Smoky Mountain and this week's matchup with AC Reynolds on Friday night. So hold tight, watch our sponsors, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Welcome back. Coach, we're going to talk about, let's talk about the Smoky Mountain game. Your first, I think, was that your first North Carolina playoff game? Yeah, sure. I know it's a little different, south of the border. I thought the team seemed like they were ready, excited to be there.
Yeah.
We got contributions from several different players that have been banged up. It's good to see some people back.
Right.
And they got some contributions. Thought that, it was nice, a little bit of a cool night, but it was okay. I love that we came down and had on our gold jerseys. I didn't say the other word. I didn't say the Y word. I got in trouble for that last time.
Right.
They looked good, and I thought we played well. So jumping right into it, and with the offense, our passing game opened up really well for us. Zolo had a good night. Four touchdown passes, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Quay got loosed a couple times. He got two of them.
Yep.
My man Gash.
Jaden.
That second one, where he just literally took the ball away from the guy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you get on that one. That was unbelievable. I thought
great play.
It was an amazing play. I thought we ran the ball effectively when we had to. Enough, but we kept them honest. And one of the things I liked that we struggled with in the Crest game, but we had success on first down, which is what we've had all season.
Right.
And it allowed us to get ahead of the change. So give us your thoughts on the offensive performance.
Well, they did a much better job. We talked about it, I think, last week in the show that if we don't show that we can throw the ball downfield, they're just going to keep packing it in and playing close to the line of scrimmage. And that's what we got. We knew it was coming. And so that was the breakout thing. That would be one of the things that we'll talk about as we go through is once we started doing that, they have to come up with an option. There's something that they have to do in order, and we're just going to sit back and watch. I mean, are they going to start playing off and to take that away, which opens up the run game, or are they going to stay tight? And they just kept staying tight, so we just kept throwing it.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it was we were able to connect on those throws, and the offensive line gave us plenty of time to get the ball off, and I think everybody felt pretty comfortable with it. So it was good to see because that's just one of the parts of the game that we haven't been able to capitalize on.
Yeah, I thought the pocket stayed clean pretty much. They got through one time that I can remember, but I think I even after that saw Tristan and Matthew talking. I think they might have missed an assignment.
Yeah.
But they fixed it, and I'm not picking on them.
Right. Well, that happens.
Sure, it's going to. I mean, it's a game of strategy. They're going to win. They're going to win some of them. But even like you said, when we were able to stretch the field a little bit, there were several times when some of the passes he connected with, we had multiple guys open.
Right.
We had one of our fans pointed out to me, he texted in and said that he saw it too. And you saw this on film, I'm sure. There were several times our slot receiver down the hash wasn't even touched.
Right down the seam.
So the good thing about that is when you scout that's another thing you got to account for as the opposing team, and that's hard. You can't cover everybody.
You can't cover them all.
And you can't do a good.
You better cover seams.
Yeah, exactly right. So I really thought about. We looked comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't mean comfortable complacent. I meant comfortable in doing what we do.
Right.
And that's kind of the vibe I got, the way we played. We played well, I thought.
Yeah.
And I think we needed that. You know.
We did. We did. And I hate to say it, and because I don't want to talk about a lot of negative stuff, but last week, coming off of a big game and it turning out the way that it did, we were flat all week long. Mm-hmm. And so actually, when you look at it, it's a good thing, and of course, it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. The good thing is, that it means that it really cares, that they really care, that it really means something to them,
yeah.
and that's why they were so low all last week. And then, but the bad thing is, sometimes bad things are going to happen. You got to erase them, and you got to keep moving on. And so that's what we've got to do. We got to make sure that our guys are getting prepared for the next battle, because
sure.
there's another one coming.
Sure.
So anyway, but I was real pleased with the way they played. They seemed to really they were really focused on what they were trying to do. So that was great.
You could tell. I mean, just from a standpoint of watching, it looked like they were ready, and they did, and they executed very well.
Yep.
Defensively, Coach, I saw exactly what you were talking about. I thought up front, Smoky Mountain ran their linemen ran their traps, and when they ran the counter a few times, they ran some power, belly, traditional stuff. And on the first drive especially, they were eating the clock, and they were just trying to pound it. But a lot of that started up front. I thought they did really well, and then they shifted when you guys got up on them. They shifted obviously to a shotgun formation, right. And the quarterback was a really good player. He got loose a few times, especially when he got us on the edge. Tell us what you think. Did you think as you were watching? I mean, you'd seen the film. Did you think their success running the ball, at least at first, the way they did that surprise you that they did it that well?
No, and again, I don't want to be negative. That's not my thing. But they did a really good job, and we knew that coming in. I think I said that in the show last time. They were very well coached, and how do you know if they're well coached? You just watch them on down blocks and on pulls and how tight they are and all that kind of stuff. They do a great job with that. And then, of course, keeping the ball away from us. A lot of teams have tried to do that so far this year, and it gets frustrating.
Sure.
I mean, it's frustrating for your offense, and it even gets frustrating for the defense, because you're just standing around waiting. So all of that stuff, I kind of felt like that was going to be kind of the theme of the game. The part where I'm going to talk about that I don't want it to be negative, but it is what it is if you want to stop people playing good, if you want to stop people playing defense, you better become a very good technical team.
Yes.
You have to know how to play technique. Our guys are still learning, and some of them aren't. They're not. It's not that they're not grasping; they don't want to grasp it.
Right.
So we're flying by the seat of our pants in some scenarios. It doesn't surprise me at all that they were able to run the ball on us. We've got some guys that stepped up. Jason Melton had 23 tackles, but he's a Mike linebacker. And basically what we moved to was a 4-3 front to stop the run. Thank goodness we did.
Yeah.
Because if we would have stayed in our regular 4-2-5 look, we would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
But by making the adjustments that Coach Carroll made, it allowed Melton to make a lot of plays. The problem is we're giving up too much from our front guys.
Yeah.
And we're fighting that battle. So it's a battle, and I'm gonna keep coaching.
And you keep working. That's right. Well, one of the things that I did notice that was a market improvement before I do special teams. What, 2 penalties?
Yeah.
Is that what I think?
I think we ended up with. I think we ended up with 4.
But it wasn't many.
No, we ended up with 4, and one of them was like for 1 yard.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So yeah, incredible how we did that. I mean, I guess it's just great coaching.
It was fantastic coaching and motivation.
It's either great coaching or a difference in officials. I'm
gonna tell you, it's probably a little both. But I will say that with the officiating, it's like I've told you before. It's just like in the Burns game when you have officials that just allow the game to flow,
right?
And they don't look for things. I mean, they just let it flow. I mean, to me, they called what they saw.
That's right.
And I thought it was fair, even though it might have been only 4-1 or 4-2 or whatever. But that's still hardly nothing.
Well, the problem that you have, and we're going to debate this forever, and it happens at every level. But how do you go from playing 4, 5, 6 games, and you have like 2 holding penalties a game? Then you get into one game and you've got like 8.
Correct.
And then the next week you have 4 penalties. It blows my mind, but it is what it is, and that's a part of the game.
It is.
They are a part of the game.
So special teams, I've been waiting on this one because I'm really excited about something.
Yep.
I thought that obviously I think we punted, was it once or twice?
Twice.
So the punt team, I thought executed. Zolo did a good job with punting.
Real good.
I thought we blocked well on that, and kick return. We didn't have to be out there much for that. Kickoff, I thought covered well. But as you're probably going to talk about, but I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit. When Matt Rom hit that 30, how many yards? 34. First of all, when he kicked it, it was one of the highest kicks I think I've ever seen. I mean, that thing, it looked like my 9 wedge, and it went way up.
He kicks all of them like that. All of his are so high, which is great.
It's fine. It's not going to get blocked.
You want.
Yeah. And when that thing hit the crossbar and bounced in, I mean, even in the press box, we went crazy.
Everybody was excited.
That's a big deal because, again, and last night when I was walking through, timed it right, walking my little dog, y'all were doing PAT, so I stopped up there and watched. And PAT field goal, 0-10 to practice, and you can just tell his confidence has come.
He's gotten better.
He's gotten a lot better.
And that's why, and again, nothing negative. This is part of coaching. It's part of the game. At that point, when I called for the punt for the PAT field goal team, and it don't matter who it was, but I had a coach to say, "Coach, man, you're going to let him try that? Let's just go for it, And as soon as I said, I was like, no, that dude needs this. He needs the experience.
Yes.
Whether he makes it or not, it don't matter to me. We're up by a huge margin. The game's going to be over. They're not coming back. Let the guy kick it." And he did a phenomenal job. It was great for him. It was great for the team. Everybody enjoyed it. And everybody gets excited. And had he missed it, we'd all pat him on the head, say, "Hey man, we're gonna get better, and we'll get it the next time." So it was just the right thing to do, and he I was happy for him. I'm always happy. That's the greatest thing about coaching. Mm-hmm. When you see kids do something that they've never had an opportunity to do, or something that they may even question themselves of whether or not they can do it, and he comes through.
Right.
It's huge.
It's big. It was a big moment. It was awesome. It was a good thing to celebrate. So. Like we always do, we've already talked about officiating. So, give me your 3 takeaways from the game.
Well, there's a lot of takeaways, and the first one we've already discussed is coming out after a loss, that a disappointing loss. It's hard to judge where you are mentally, and I think our guys, even though we went through the week, I was really worried about where we were. They really focused, and they knew that there was a job and a task to be done, and they did it. So the takeaway is that that they're kids. They're still young guys and everybody wants to win. And sometimes I think that we as adults maybe put too much into it, and we kind of have to watch where they are emotionally and psychologically. And,
right.
So I was real pleased with the way that they ended up playing after the week was over. The second big takeaway is, hey man, it sure is nice to be able to throw a deep pass.
Yes.
That's a big takeaway. So it backs up the defense, and it gives you an opportunity to do more of what you want to do. And it's great to see that our offense, Coach Bolton, has put a lot of emphasis on making those throws, getting guys open, and so that would be a huge takeaway. And then the last takeaway for me is that the game was over, and our guys. It wasn't like our guys were disappointed that, a lot of people, think first round, it ought to be a blowout. We should blow, and it didn't matter to them. They were just glad that they got the win, and they get to live another week. So that was a good feeling for me to know that they were happy about the win, even though it wasn't exactly like what they wanted. They would have loved to have seen us, beat them by 60, which I would never let happen anyway.
Right.
Which I probably don't know that, but they weren't discouraged by it.
Yeah.
They knew they won. They did a good job. And I'm not. Don't quote me on this, but I think when I went back and looked, our snaps on offense were very limited. I mean, I'm talking about maybe in the 20s. Mm-hmm. How many times we actually snapped the ball as an offensive play was in the 20s. And that's hard. I mean, that is hard to win a game with the amount of points that we did with that few snaps.
Yes.
So that would be another big takeaway, is that you've got to capitalize on the opportunities that you have.
That's what I was about to say. I didn't realize that stat either, because I'm just watching the game like everyone, but I know y'all track that. So that proves that you did execute well when you had the opportunity. Right.
And so I was very pleased with what we ended up doing.
Very good. I'm trying to cover my microphone. I don't know if that works. Drew, if I blew your ears out, I'm sorry. So we'll go and take a sponsor break. When we come back, we will talk about the AC Reynolds game this week, round 2 of the playoffs. So sit tight. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
in an underhanded way.
Yeah.
Welcome back. RJ, thanks for the shout out. Make sure you're paying attention to U.S. history class tomorrow, because you have a tendency to be on your computer watching fishing videos more than learning about U.S. history. So thanks for the shout out there. There you go. In fact, I was said to say Ronald Gardner, but it's RJ. Anyway, enough of that. Coach, let's talk about AC Reynolds. Second round, obviously, and playoffs are always more critical. We've got a history with this team, especially up there. We've played them in some big games. We were up there in 19 when they had a loaded team, and we were good too. But I really believe they thought that was the one, that was their year, and unfortunately for them, we beat them up there. It was a tough environment. It's a good place to play. It'll be fun. Tell us your first impressions after you've seen them on film this week.
Well, we scrimmaged them early in the year, and the first thing that you notice, again, I say this, I guess I've been saying this a lot, they're a very well coached team. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I've heard it a couple of times, but he's a very good coach. He's been around for a long time. They do a very good job. What is worrisome about them from an offensive standpoint, they run, as Coach Carroll said, 1,000 different formations. Mm-hmm. So what you do defensively, it limits you, because you got to be careful. If you call a defense that doesn't fit what they come out in the formation, you better have a check for it, or you're going to be out of position. So that's tough. That makes it tough on us. And of course, you don't know what you're going to see when you get up there. I mean, which formations they're going to use. So that is one thing. And from the offensive standpoint, quarterback's very good. He does a really good job, just managing and heck, he's elusive. He drops back in the pocket, and he may not look elusive, but he can get away from people. So it makes it that'll make it tough on us. They have a receiver that's a tall guy. He's not the speediest in the world, but they like to throw it up to him, and we got to be able to go get him. Their offensive line's pretty good, you know. I think that's where we got to take advantage. We got to play better up front than they do, which, like we were talking about earlier, that could be an issue. They're very sound offensively. Defensively, I think they've got 8 returning starters, and they have a linebacker that's going to play in the Shrine Bowl, who is really the nucleus of the defense. He moves around well, and I think he might be the one guy that gets them lined up and all that stuff. So he's very good, and but they're good all the way around.
Yeah,
the whole defense is good. Scrappy bunch. They're going to get to the ball. They're not going to. You're not going to see a whole lot of missed tackles. They're going to fly and get to the football. So, and the part about it that I noticed in video is the environment is going to be a little different. You know, when anything big happens, the lights turn off and flash. They go green and white, and so that'll be something new for our players. And I'm sure that's probably one of those things where they just trying to shock you and get into your head. And we gotta just completely ignore that and play the game. So, but they're good. They're a very good football team.
I've not watched film like you have, obviously, to the length, but one of the things I noticed was their one stat that stood out to me was points for and points against.
Right.
They've not given up a lot of points.
No.
And they've scored a good bit of points.
Yeah.
And again, I don't put a ton of weight to that,
you can't
because you don't know what your competition is. Because I look at ours too, which ours is good as well.
Yeah.
But I do look at that because it kind of gives me a little bit of a window about their defense. But you've answered what I was going to ask, like who we wanted to look for and what they're running. Are they running on defense, Coach? Are they running a 4-man front primarily?
Yes. And they're not really they're really not that complicated.
Yeah.
But what they do really well.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to be.
Yeah.
And so the scoring points, we're going to have to really, we got to do a couple of things. We got to take care of the football. We can't give them anything. And every single time we have the ball, we've got to drive and at least help us win field position so that we can get it back and get in a good spot so that we can score. You know, it's going to be a game of cat and mouse, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of play, a lot of situations that we've got to manage well. Right.
How do you think going into it? Like, I know you've been with them 3 days so far. How do you feel like we're preparing?
God, boy, I'll tell you what. Our Monday practice. It may have been the best practice of the year. I don't know what it was. I don't know. They were all in a good mood. Everybody was flying around. They were working hard, going fast. And I got home, and because my wife, that's the first thing she asked me when I walked through the door, how's practice? And I was like, Bridget, I don't know what happened, but whatever. I told them when we finished practice on Monday, I said, y'all, whatever y'all did today, do it again tomorrow, the rest of the week, and especially on Friday.
Yeah.
So it was incredible. Then yesterday came, and it went from here to there, and I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I think I need to get up into school, kind of wander around a little bit, see. Maybe teachers are being mean to him or something. I don't know, but we got to figure it out. Because if we could practice like we did on Monday every single day,
you'd be fine.
We'd be more than a force to reckon with.
So was your? I know you don't call it a walkthrough, but was your
Wednesday? Today was really good because they I think even they were kind of upset with what happened yesterday, and they seemed really focused. We didn't have a lot of junk going on. It was pretty focused on what we were trying to do, get through, because that's the way we practice. Monday is the first day we're going to teach everything that we want to try to get in that week. Tuesday is going to be a rep day, and we do individual, group, and team work. Tuesday's a lot of group and team stuff, so we're really just honing in on what we're trying to get done. We're videoing all that. Wednesday we're going to watch the video from Monday and Tuesday's practice, and we're going to go over everything so everybody knows what we're doing on everything that we're doing. And then Thursday, we're going to come out and we're going to do like a mock game, through scenarios. And so after today, it seemed like they were very focused, and they know what's going on. We'll come out tomorrow and just see how they do in a scrimmage situation.
I got a kick out of I got a kick out of something. I was coming through here last night. A lot of y'all don't know, I walk my little dog. We walked through here in the afternoon, and like I said, I got to watch PAT yesterday when I was coming back through. But when I first came through, Coach got after him pretty good, and I heard something. He didn't cuss him or anything. It wasn't bad at all. But it was something funny that I'm going to say off air that I think I heard him say. And I was walking the dog up the path, and I just laughed out loud because he was getting after it. But they needed it, because as I came back through, when they were lining up for PAT, they were flying around a little better. It was kind of funny, but I wanted to say that to you, Coach. And then I heard you tonight because I was walking him again, and before you went off the field, and the guys seemed to be pretty hyped down there and ready, and that's good because it does. Every week means something.
That's right.
But it's just more special right now, obviously.
It's either win or go home.
That's right.
And they know it. That's the thing. They know it. I just hope that they understand that tomorrow's not always given to them. You've got to take advantage of the opportunities you're given every single chance you get. And it's hard for teenage people today, especially today in the world we live in, social media and all that stuff. It's hard, but I know they know, but I don't know if they know.
Right, I get it. They typically know after it's over when it's a little too late.
And now it's too late.
Yeah.
Right.
How are we health wise?
We're good. Well, we got Braden Barnes back.
Yes,
our center
that's big.
Is back. He got cleared today. So the center is back, but then at the same time we were missing a couple offensive linemen today for sickness. They're both at home sick, and so that's not a good thing because that's just a missed practice that gets them behind, and that's
where it starts. I mean, up front's where it starts.
Gosh, you better believe. Well, we've been dealing with this all year. People losing people, and but yeah, we're getting some guys back, and that's good. It's just a matter of making sure we're all on the same page. Yeah. But yeah, we're not in the same shape we were a couple weeks ago.
That's good. I'm glad we're getting healthier at the right time. That's the right thing. All right, Coach. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, you guys stay with us. We're going to do our Players of the Week after the break. So sit tight. We're back in just a few minutes.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
No.
Sorry. No. I'm sorry. I was telling Coach what I thought I heard.
No.
And it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I thought I heard that, but it was.
I'm sorry. That was my sarcasm. And
well, I figured it was. That's why I didn't think it was. Yeah.
Y'all, you don't want to know.
I know. I figured. When I was walking up the path, I heard that, and I was. I literally laughed out loud because I've been there and I know exactly how it is. But we won't get there. I do want to say, Coach, after last week's show, when you made the executive decision, which you have the right to do. We didn't give Players of the Week. We just gave some we recognized some guys who did well. I actually heard from Jimbo, who owns Gutter Guys, and Jimbo said, "You tell the coach that I agree with that." And I was like, I figured you would. So
that's good to know.
The owner of the sponsor of the Players of the Week is on board with us.
As long as we make the sponsor happy.
That's exactly right. So let's get to that. Let's talk about our Gutter Guys Players of the Week. As always, we will start with offense.
All right, so let's go through the honorable mentions first. Zolo, he was 7 for 9, 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's a great night for a quarterback. Quay Sanders had two receptions for 112 yards and had 2 touchdowns.
2 receptions for 112.
And 2 touchdowns.
And 2 touchdowns.
So 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns. So that's pretty good too. JoJo Hill, he had 7 carries for 60 yards. Teddy Jeffries, he had 5 carries for 55 yards and a 42-yard run, which all that was really good. All those are good stats. But this week I'm going to go with Jaden Gash as the Offensive Player of the Week. He had 2 receptions for 102 yards and also had 2 touchdowns on those 2 receptions. But he made one of the greatest catches that I've ever seen.
Unreal.
And I made Coach Bolton mad because I said, "Hey man, I'm gonna call that in the stat line. That needs to be an interception and then a fumble recovery for touchdown." He's like, "Oh no, that's a touchdown pass." And I was just kidding around, but it was a heck of a play.
Because the defender had the ball.
He had the ball, but before his feet touched the ground, Gash was taking it out.
Yes,
it was an incredible play, and that's what we need. That's what I keep telling you guys. I've tried to explain to them, say to them over and over again. There's players that go out and play the game, and everybody's going to play to win. And then there's some players that things happen to, and then there's some players that go make things happen.
Right.
And we want the guys that go make things happen.
Yes.
And so what Gash did was exactly what I wanted.
Yes.
We just got to get more of them to want to do that.
Yes.
And so he is definitely our Offensive Player of the Week, and I was extremely impressed and happy for him. That was a great play.
Absolutely. So Jaden Gash, I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. No, that's it.
Jaden Gash, our Gutter Guys Offensive Player of the Week. Coach, let's do defense.
Defense, again, it's spread out. Of course, like we were talking about, they were trying to run the ball and try to run the clock and all that kind of stuff. And really, I mean, it was still, from a defensive standpoint, we did some pretty good stuff. Eli Lipscomb, he had 48 production points. We've talked about those before. 9 tackles, 5 tackles for loss. Antonio Armstrong had 47 production points, 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Curtis had 44 production points with 8 tackles. Thomas Fair had 41 production points, 9 tackles, and a tackle for loss. But Jason Melton ended up with 23 tackles. He was in on 3 third-down stops, and he ended up with 80 production points, which led the team. And that's what you want your linebackers doing. And so all of those guys did a great job. They didn't throw the ball very much until they had to.
Right.
And so you don't hear a whole lot about the DBs, but Melton did it. That was a tremendous game. He was, because they ran the ball so much, he was in on almost every tackle. Coach Carroll told me, he was like, "Coach, I think he had a few more assists, but I just didn't give them to him because I don't think people would believe."
Yeah.
So anyway, 23 tackles is that's
incredible.
That's playing lights out.
It is. He excuse me, Jason Melton, Gutter Guys Defensive Player of the Week.
Yep.
I want to say this real quick. A couple things about him. He is an incredible player. He's a good leader. Love that kid. Love how he plays. I love his actions. I love his attitude.
Yep.
I was talking to one of my students at school this week who was at our game, and he knows Jason. He knows him personally.
Yep.
But he'd come to our game because he knew some other people too. But he went on and on about, he said, "Coach, he said, I knew he was good." He said, "But I didn't know he flowed that well and played that hard." I said, "Oh yeah." I said, he's one of several that play like that. I said, "But he had a really good game Friday night." I said, "But that's kind of the norm." And I said,
I don't know where he'll end up playing college ball, but wherever it is,
they're getting a good one.
They're going to get a good one, and they're going to take him. They're going to put probably 20, 25 pounds on him.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a complete beast.
Yeah. He's going somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's going somewhere.
If not, there's a lot of dumb colleges.
You got that right. I think the same thing. Special Teams Player of the Week.
All right, so special teams. I'm gonna start honorable mention. I'm gonna give it Matt Rom a shout out, and if he would have made all of his PATs, he would have had to run it for the whole thing.
But Coach, he made a field goal.
But he made a 34-yard field goal, and everybody was excited for him, and that's a great thing.
Sure.
You see your whole team get excited for your player. But Matt's done a tremendous job. He stepped up in a situation that he probably didn't even expect to happen. and he's worked. I mean, he's really. I'll get out there and work with him a little bit, and he's trying so hard. But very excited for the 34-yard field goal. But he was 4 for 5 on PATs. But that's good.
There's a standard.
That's good. But there's a standard.
That's
right. We had one of those injury guys that we've been talking about that we lost a few weeks back. William Tex Vaughn. He was back this week for the very first time, and he broke his hand, so he's been out for weeks. And we put him on kickoff team, and just we made him. We have one guy on our kickoff team that we call a headhunter, and I don't even know if politically we're supposed to say that anymore. But he's the guy that's not a lane guy. He's the guy that we want him going straight to the ball as fast as you can.
Right.
And even if you don't make the tackle, just slow the ball carrier down so the rest of our guys can get there. And he jumped in this week and did a great job, and ended up with being in on 4 tackles on the kickoff team. So I'm going to go with Tex as our special teams player.
I agree, Coach. I was about to say, I actually meant to say this on air Friday night, and he did something, and then something else happened. I got distracted, but I was going to make the comment that he stood out.
Yeah.
First of all, I recognized that he was back out there.
Right.
Because he's such a good-looking athlete
anyway.
And then he got out there and he made plays.
He did.
And that was and you're happy. I mean, because he has been hurt. I'm glad he's making plays anyway, but the fact that he's back and making plays.
Yeah, and that's not saying anything about any of the others. That's a legitimate injury. I mean, he had a cast on his hand. And we even thought that they were going to be able to pad the cast up so that he could continue playing. And the doctor ruled it out and said we're not going to be able to do it. So I was real happy for him.
Yeah, and Coach, I want to say one other thing about Ron. We always talk in sports, especially in football, because football being a contact sport and a little violent, whatever. We always talk about next man up mentality.
That's right.
Which is what he's done.
That's it.
But what's ironic about it is he just recently came on the team.
Right.
So we're asking him to step up and do things when he's not been. It's not because he didn't like us, no, he added late.
He's a dual sport athlete.
Sure, and that says a lot more about him too.
Right, but he never, he's always been there. It's hard. It's really been hard because I'm not used to having a kicker who's not there like all the time. But we go through our schedule and we have to check with the soccer coach when they're practicing to make sure that we can get him there when we need him there. And it's been really hard. But the thing about him is he'll do whatever you ask him to, and he loves being there. Yeah. He just loves being a part of the football team. So it's awesome having him there.
He's done great, but he comes from good stock, and a lot of his willingness to do what he's asked to do. His mom and dad are great people, and they expect. They expect that of their children. And that's where it comes from.
All right, and let's go ahead and tell the whole story. So in the fall, he played football, he plays soccer, and he's also in the band.
Yeah.
And the band was pretty upset when he decided to play football, and they lost him because from what I understand, he's a really good whatever instrument player. So that's great, man. He has that kind of talent.
Very well rounded.
Yeah.
So those are our players of the week for the Gutter Guys, and. Thank you, Gutter Guys, for sponsoring those, and Jimbo, and actually the owner and the brains of the company. We all know is your beautiful wife, Jimbo, not you. So, excuse me, Coach. We've got some questions that came in. Drew got them to me. They asked the coach questions, and actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them together. You've touched on one of these already a little bit, but I'm going to put them together because they are both defensive questions. These are coming from Mike Crocker, Jake Baker, and Kevin and Gerald Smith. They're asking about what we've done this week and what your focus has been working on run defense, and which we talked about a little bit.
Yep.
And also, I know you've worked on it, but how have you focused on wrapping up and form tackling? I noticed a couple of times too, and I know it's not you out there doing it.
Right.
We get a little bit of grabby, and kids do it. I mean, they just do.
Yep.
And I'm sure that's been addressed this week. So their question is, tell us about what the focus has been or how we've worked on those two things this week.
Well, and then I have to be careful, because like I said, we can put a board up here and I can bring out some video and I can show you, and we've done a lot of work.
Sure.
I remember I played football for Coach Carroll. Now.
Yeah.
So I know Coach Carroll about as well as anybody except maybe his wife. And when I hear the comment come out of Coach Carroll's mouth, man, we can't tackle, then I know that two things are going to happen. Number one, he's going to be even more upset. Mm-hmm. Number two, they're going to do more tackling.
Right. So
if you watch us even in pregame, one of his drills is form tackling. He's going to have a blocker come at him, and they're going to shed the blocker. They're going to shed the blocker, and they're going to tackle on the last one. He does it in individual drills. Yep. He does. Our DBs are doing tackling drills. We have it on the schedule. There's a time on our schedule that says tackle, and every coach in their individual time is supposed to work on tackling. And you can do all the tackling drills in the world. The bottom line is when it comes all down to it and the whistle blows and the ball's snapped, tackling is all about the will of the player.
They have to execute it.
They got to go tackle.
They do.
You got to go tackle.
Yeah.
So we can talk about being grabby. I can promise you we're not teaching them to be grabby.
I know.
We're going to teach them how to tackle, but they got to go tackle.
Yeah.
Now, when you're asking me about stopping the run game, we were talking about this earlier.
Yes.
Again, I can't be negative. We're coaching them. Mm-hmm. I'll just put it this way. We were talking about this off air, that being a good football team, being a good defensive front is all about playing technique.
Yes.
It's all about playing technique. And people don't realize that. Some people probably are saying, well, man, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And we can coach technique all we want to. When those players go out on the field, if they don't want to do the technique, if they like the Olay offensive lineman, they don't want to touch offensive lineman, they want to try to get skinny and run through a gap, that is on them. We can't, that is not what they're being coached. Mm-hmm. They're being coached something else. So the next question is, well, why don't you take them out? Well, it's not like we're loaded down with a bunch of people.
Right.
You know, we've got players, but we don't have a ton of players. So they are being coached. What you watch on Friday might be, it might not be. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep coaching.
I know you are.
We're going to keep coaching. And one day we're going to end up with guys that are our guys.
Yeah.
That we haven't shared with anybody. And I promise you, it'll look a little different than what it does right now.
I believe you. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't going to say this until you made me think of it. The stats you gave with Jason, mm-hmm. I'm a little surprised it's that high, and I'm going to tell you why. As a defensive line coach, your job, this is my opinion, mm-hmm. but we've talked about this before, your job as a defensive lineman is to occupy your man and your gap through your technique to free up the linebackers so they can flow.
Everybody hates that.
They do.
They don't want to hear that. Even Coach Carroll. Coach Carroll doesn't like that. He doesn't teach that. He doesn't preach that.
Right.
That we're not going to tell a guy, hey man, we want you to get double teamed so that you don't make any tackles and the linebackers make all of them.
Right.
In today's world, you tell anybody that?
Yeah.
That's like saying, hey, I want you to come to work, but I'm not going to pay you.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just not going to work. Kids today I'm sorry, again, not being negative,
no, it's
but
just
the
the way it is.
Selfish society, they aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
So,
but I always follow that up with Coach. I always tell them, and I've always coached them, that even though that's their job, I always tell them, and I said it here before, tackles will come. You're still going to be freed up and make some plays.
Well, eventually, if they want the offense wants to change something, they better get the linebacker blocked.
Right.
One way or the other. Well, the only way they can do it is not block the DL.
Yeah.
So if they don't block you, you better make the tackle.
So it's going to come.
But what happens is when a defensive lineman puts himself out of position because he's olaying a block, he's not making contact. Well, now he's out of position, and he just let the offensive lineman go block the linebacker. Now we have nobody to make a play.
Because he's created a running lane.
They don't understand that
yet. Right.
And I know everybody goes, they don't understand that yet, and y'all are in week 12.
It's not because you haven't gone over it.
It ain't because it hasn't.
No.
I said it ain't.
I know.
Sorry
about that. It's okay.
Been more formal on that, but it ain't because we haven't been coaching.
I know.
I can tell you.
It's part of what I talked about at the end of the show last week when you had left. we have to remember, as you said earlier, they are kids.
That's right.
And they are stubborn sometimes.
Well, and think of it, that everybody doesn't coach the same way.
Right.
So there's habits. You know, you got somebody who's been playing football for that long. It's just like when they instituted the rule about not leading with the head.
Yeah.
You know, my first argument was, you know, when I was coming through, my coach said, take your face mask and your nose and put it right in that guy's chest. Put your face mask in between his numbers on his chest. Well, that's been taught for years and years and years and years.
Right.
You're not going to change guys into not going to hit people that way in one day. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Well, it's the same way with this.
Sure.
Is whatever's been taught forever or not been taught, just letting them play, that becomes a habit. And so it's hard to break those habits. And we know where we're at.
Yeah.
But we know where we need to be.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of work.
It does. And you'll keep working.
We're going to work.
Yes, sir. All right, Coach. Well, what time are you having to leave Friday?
We are going to, man, why you put me on the spot. Let's see, players are coming in at 1:20 and we will be on the road at...
Because it's a 7 o'clock kickoff, right?
7 o'clock kickoff.
We don't have to be accurate. I'm just saying.
We're leaving around 2:30.
Yeah,
somewhere in that. We're going to bring them in at 1:20, start our pregame. We have a pretty... You know, people probably look at me and go, man, that dude's crazy. But we have a pretty elaborate pregame itinerary. So we're going to do our special teams meetings. We're going to get all that done. We're going to go ahead and do devotion here before we get on the bus. Right after we get done with devotion, we'll get on the bus. We're going to give ourselves 2 hours, even though it's an hour and 40 minutes, to get up there and get off the bus, and then we'll start our pregame ritual up there. So it's around 2:30, I think, something like that.
Well, safe travels. Let's go get a win.
No doubt.
And have another show next week.
That'd be great.
Talking about either North Lincoln or Hickory.
That's right.
Coach, good to see you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be back after the break. Stick around.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Which one are we going to, Drew? That one? Okay. Welcome back. Thank you, Coach, for being here with us. We're going to do several things like we always do. We're going to look at our first graphic. We're going to look at this week at Kings Mountain High School. So Drew will pull that up for us, and we'll talk about what's going on here at KM in the next week. So today, November 8th, we think Drew's going to pull it up. It's coming. It's coming, I promise. It looks too pretty. He made it. We can't not show it. But I've got it right here too, so I'm going to read it to you, and then you'll get to see it, so you'll have to quit looking at my ugly face. Today, the 8th, there are no events. Tomorrow, there are no events. Now, I will say there are practices going on for basketball and wrestling. That's good. Friday night, we play at AC Reynolds, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. On Saturday, the 11th, the women's basketball has a scrimmage at Freedom. On Monday, the 13th, there are no events. And on the 14th, we have a scrimmage at home for basketball versus Lincolnton. The Wolves are coming to town to scrimmage our basketball teams. So let's look at the game info for AC Reynolds game. We want to make sure you know, and it's on the graphic there, we want to make sure you're aware of the game time. First, before I get there, though, you can buy tickets. We've been told you can buy them at the gate. Now, some of you are probably thinking, a couple years ago, we went to Asheville. They were only digital, but they've told us you can buy them at the gate, too. But in order just to avoid all that, you may want to try to get one on the GoFan app ahead of time if you can. Gates open at 6. Game time is at 7. That is a change, so make sure you know that. We were thinking it was 7:30. And so we want to make sure you realize it is 7 on Friday, not 7:30. What we know of now, there is no bag policy, which is good for us because if it's looking like it might be misting a little bit or raining up through and to game time, that means we can carry some stuff in with us. We should be able to. There's the address, 1 Rocket Drive in Asheville. There's construction oftentimes on I-26. That's, can be a nightmare. So, allow for some time there. And then as you see there at the bottom, we are going to broadcast the game. So we will have a YouTube broadcast where Drew and Lamont and myself will be broadcasting the game on Friday for you to be able to see and hear. Our final shout out or recognition is going to our wonderful and talented and very awesome volleyball team. Look at that great picture right there. There are the players and the coaches and them holding their banners and holding the trophy. As you know by now, our Mountaineer volleyball team won the state championship on Saturday for a hard-fought battle against Orange High School out of Chapel Hill, and they did a great job. So awesome to see them. Look at those faces and all those smiles. What a great thing for our school, for our community, for our coaches and our young ladies. Congratulations, Lady Mountaineers, on your state championship in volleyball and getting it done up there and doing well for our school, your families, our Mountaineer families, and of course, the community. As we do each week, I'd like to remind you that if you've not already done so, to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you are a member there. That way you get access to this show, the ball games, and then all the other sports, because there are other games that we cover in other seasons. So we hope that you will do that. Plus you can watch replays. I know there are several people that come to the game and then like to go back on Saturday if we have broadcast and watch it on Saturday. We want to talk to you about the Touchdown Club like we always do and thank the Touchdown Club for giving us this opportunity to be here and do this. We definitely want to thank them for their contribution to being allowing us to be able to broadcast on Friday night. That did not come without some negotiating, so we appreciate the Touchdown Club doing what they always do, allowing us to be able to broadcast the game and allowing the fans who cannot be there to see the game. We do want you to come to the game if you can. It is a little bit of a drive, but that's worth it. Let's pack that place out and show AC Reynolds what a good fan base is for our Mountaineers. As always, I'd like to thank Drew for the work behind the scenes on the computer. Jeff Johnson will be back with us next week. Safe travels. I pray that you get home and the team gets home safely. I pray all of you will have a great week the rest of the week, and you'll be there on Friday night either in the stands or watching us on YouTube. As always, it's a good day to be a Mountaineer.
Veterans.
What about them?
Veterans Day. Is that not this weekend?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Drew. Drew reminded me. Sorry, I'm talking to Drew. It is Veterans Day on Saturday, so we would love to salute and thank all of our veterans, because I'll tell you something. I say this to the ones that I know and some that I meet. I love to see the guys that have the hats on that talked about what war they fought in or when they served. We do things like this because of folks like you, because you served so we could be free. So thank you for what you do and what you've done. There's no other crew like you, and you're a special breed. Thank you very much. We'll celebrate with you on Saturday. Hopefully we're celebrating a Mountaineer win on Saturday on Veterans Day. So like I said, have a great week. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week after we get this win on Friday. Take care.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,